My son left a note on my pillow like I was a hotel guest checking out early. Dad, do not plan your future around me or my house. I have my own responsibilities and my own children to raise. I read it once, folded it back along the same crease, and set it on my nightstand. By 7:00 the next morning, I was on the phone with my attorney. By noon, my will had been completely rewritten. At 1:30, my son burst through my front door, red in the face, and said, "Dad, what did you do?" I picked his own note up off the nightstand, held it out to him, and said, "Son, I did exactly what you asked. A man will tell you a lot of things when he thinks he's being generous. What he won't tell you is what he actually wants. I found that out the night my son left a note on my pillow. Before I get into what happened next, tell me where you're watching from and what the weather's like where you are. I'd love to know. My name is Leonard Baxter. I'm 64, I own Baxter Heating and Cooling here in Boise, Idaho, 31 years in business, and my hands still smell like solder half the time. My wife Rhonda and I have been married 38 years. We raised one son, Kyle, in a brick two-story on Lotta's Street. I built the front porch myself back in 1994. Kyle's 34 now, married 6 years to a woman named Nicole. Up until that Tuesday night, Rhonda and I thought things between all of us were fine. For about 3 months before the note, Kyle had gone quiet at Sunday dinners. Money came up in these sideways little comments, how tight things were, how Nicole's hours got cut at the title company, how they were 2 months behind on their mortgage in Meridian. I noticed. I didn't act on it because that's what fathers do. We notice things and tell ourselves they'll pass. Around the same time, Nicole started asking me real specific questions. Whether Rhonda and I had updated our estate paperwork, whether the house was still just in my name. I answered honestly because I had no reason not to. Nicole is a notary and loan signing agent. She reads documents for a living. I should have paid closer attention to that. There was one more thing that seemed small at the time. Back in 2019, I'd signed a limited power of attorney so my accountant could close a supplier financing deal while Rhonda and I were on a cruise out of Seattle. Nicole helped me fill it out at Kyle's kitchen table, said it would save me a trip downtown. I signed it, the deal closed, and I never thought about that piece of paper again. That was the mistake. Then came the Tuesday. I came in late from the shop, and there it was, folded once, sitting square in the middle of my pillow like Rhonda had left a mint there. I read it standing in my socks. Dad, I have been meaning to write this for a long time. Do not plan your future around me or my house. I have my own responsibilities and my own children to raise. I didn't need to read it twice. I folded it back and set it on the nightstand. Rhonda asked what it was. I said, "Nothing, go to sleep." Then I lay there staring at the ceiling fan until almost 4 in the morning. At 7:00, I called my attorney, Corinne Whitaker, before her office even opened and left a message. Will and estate, urgent. She called back by 7:40 and told me to come in at 9. Corinne's handled our family's paperwork for 11 years, sharp as a tack, dry as toast, the kind of woman who reads a document twice before she asks what you want it to say. I sat down across from her desk and told her plain, take my son off everything. The house, the shop, all of it until further notice. She asked once if I was certain. I told her I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. She started typing. While she was pulling the current deed to confirm the property description, her paralegal ran a routine title search on the house. That's when Corinne went quiet at her screen. She turned it toward me. "Lon, there's a quitclaim deed recorded against your house 9 days ago." I read the filing date twice. My hands didn't shake. They just went still on the arm of the chair, like they belonged to somebody else. The deed had been notarized and filed using that 2019 power of attorney, the one limited to a financing deal at the shop and nothing else. Nicole's own notary stamp was on it. The grantee was a trust with Kyle and Nicole listed as trustees. I sat there a long time. Corinne let me. Then I said, "Print it, all of it." I stepped into the hallway and called Gerald. Gerald Yanzi, my best friend of 22 years. Ever since we both got food poisoning at the same taco stand off Fairview Avenue and spent 4 hours in adjoining gas station bathroom stalls becoming lifelong friends. Gerald sells farm equipment and doesn't sugarcoat anything, ever, exactly what I needed that morning. "They tried to take the house," I told him. He didn't say anything for a second. Who tried? Nicole filed it with an old power of attorney. Kyle's name's on the trust, too. Does Kyle know you know? Not yet. Gerald exhaled long through the phone. Leonard, I've known you 22 years. You've never once made a decision angry. Don't start today. Let Karen do this the boring, slow, paperwork way. That's how you win against people who think they're smarter than you. He was right, and I told him so, and he laughed and said he usually was. Back inside, Karen laid it out plain before 10 o'clock. Step 1, file an emergency action to void the deed, since the power of attorney was limited in scope and never authorized real estate transfers. Step 2, formally revoke that 2019 power of attorney in writing, recorded with the county, effective immediately. Step 3, refer the notarization to the Idaho Secretary of State's Notary Commission, because under Idaho law, a notary can't legally perform a notarial act in a transaction where she holds a direct beneficial interest, and Nicole had notarized the very deed that named her as trustee. Step 4, refer the deed itself to the Ada County Prosecutor's Office. Since Idaho Code 1830-601 makes it forgery to falsely make or file a deed or power of attorney with intent to defraud, 1 to 14 years in state prison. Karen had the emergency motion, the revocation, both referrals, and my finished will all drafted and sent out before noon. Before she walked me out, she looked at me over her glasses. One more thing, Leonard, keep your sense of humor through this. You're going to need it. At 1:30 that afternoon, I was standing in my own kitchen when the front door banged open. Kyle came through it, red in the face, Nicole nowhere in sight. Dad, what did you do? I set my coffee down. What are you talking about? Karen called our attorney. You voided a deed. You reported Nicole to the state? I picked his note up off the counter where I'd set it and held it out flat in my hand. Son, I did exactly what you asked. He stared at the paper like he'd never seen it before. That's not what I meant, he said. Then you should have written what you meant. I said, you wrote, don't plan your future around me or my house, so I didn't. Meanwhile, your wife filed paperwork 9 days before that note trying to put my house in a trust with your name on it. Using a power of attorney that was never meant for anything but a financing deal at the shop. Which one of those was the truth, Kyle? He didn't have an answer. He just stood there in my kitchen holding his own handwriting, and for the first time in 3 months, he didn't say a word about money. Here's how it settled out. The deed got voided in county court within 11 days, clean and uncontested, once Nicole's attorney saw the paper trail and the limited scope of that 2019 form. The Idaho Secretary of State pulled Nicole's notary commission permanently for performing a notarial act on a transaction where she held a direct beneficial interest, a straight violation under Idaho Code 51108, and that cost her the job at the title company too, since they can't employ an uncommissioned notary in that role. The Ada County prosecutor charged her with forgery under Idaho Code 1830-601. Given she had no prior record and the deed never fully cleared title, she took a plea, a suspended sentence, 2 years supervised probation, and $6,200 in restitution to cover Karen's emergency filing costs. No prison time. The old power of attorney stayed formally revoked and recorded. My will stayed rewritten. Kyle isn't in it right now, and I told him straight, that's not permanent, that's a consequence, and consequences can change if trust gets rebuilt. He's still my son. He and Nicole are still married, though from what Gerald hears through the grapevine, things there are strained. My finances never took a real hit, since the deed never fully cleared before Karen caught it. Rhonda was steady through the whole thing, madder than I was, if I'm honest. And Gerald showed up twice that week just to sit on my porch and not say much of anything, which is exactly what a friend of 22 years is supposed to do. 6 weeks later, Rhonda and I were out on that same front porch I built back in 1994. She's retired now, so she wasn't grading anything, but old habits die hard. She was marking up a crossword instead, correcting the newspaper's own clues like they'd personally wronged her. I said, you think Kyle will come around? She didn't even look up. Leonard, she said, you married a woman who's been proving people wrong for 38 years. Give him time. He'll come around or he won't.